All right. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's class on DocuSign 101. My name is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing. In today's class, I'll be taking you through the entire process of how to do a transaction within KW Command from start to finish, and that will be incorporating DocuSign in order to get your forms electronically signed. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is actually log into KW Command. Anytime you start a transaction, you will always log into Command first. And if you're not familiar with how to log into Command, that is agent.kw.com. And I remember that like the agent login for kw.com. So again, that's agent.kw.com. And you can go ahead and log in. Now this login and password will be the same as your MyKW login, the same for the Kelly app. So they're trying to centralize all passwords with this, which is nice because I don't know about you, but I have enough passwords to remember. All right, you can go ahead and click to sign in. Of course, you have that forgot password option there if you need to reset that, or you can email support at scottleroymarketing.com if you have trouble with that, and we can help you reset the password that way. All right, so the first thing that we need to do, just a little bit of housekeeping, we need to make sure that DocuSign is linked up to KW Command in order to be able to utilize that. So if you're still working on getting into Command, that's fine. No worries, take your time. You'll be able to catch up. For those of you that are in Command, let's go ahead and click on our name on the very top right of Command. And then Settings from that dropdown. Okay, so again, I'm at agent.kw.com. That will be your Command platform, and we'll click on your name on the top right of Command and select Settings from that dropdown. So I like to think of Command as kind of like an iPhone or an Android, any smartphone. So, you know, like when you got your iPhone for the first time, it had a bunch of really great features on it. However, you can add additional apps to your smartphone in order to increase the features of it. So like a smartphone, Command has different apps that you can connect up to it. Right? So you'll see connected apps right here. So at the top, it will list any apps that are currently connected. And if you keep scrolling down, you may see even more apps that you can click to connect the account on the right-hand side. All right, so for today's class, of course, we're focusing on DocuSign. So if you could scroll to find the DocuSign option. All right, if that is connected, you should see that near the top of your screen with the status connected. All right, if it's not, no worries. You can just click to connect the account right here. All right, and so you can put in your login and password to get that created. Now, if you have any trouble connecting DocuSign over to Command, first of all, I have a little how-to video on how to do that I'll send you guys. And also you can email support at scottleroymarketing.com, and we'd be more than happy to do that part for you. All right, let me send you the video so you have that as well though. All right, so here's a little tutorial if your DocuSign account is not connected to Command. That has to be done to use DocuSign. Okay. And for the question on how does the assistant log in, if your assistant is in the MyKW system, they should have their own KW login and password. However, there is an option to create an assistant account from the Rainmakers account. So feel free to email support at scottleroymarketing.com for directions on that. All right, so now that I confirm that DocuSign is connected, all right, great, that's all the boring stuff we have to do. Now we can get into the exciting stuff of how to do a transaction in KW Command. All right, so I'm going to take you through the steps, A to Z, how to go about doing that. And to kick it off, we do have to have our contacts in our database in order to create a transaction from that contact. So that is step one, is adding the contact to your Command database. So on the left-hand side, you'll see a command menu going down your screen. And for this one, we want to click on the second icon from the top. Looks like two little guys hanging out. That'll be your contact database in Command. And just a little quick tip, as you're learning this menu on the left-hand side, you can also click on the KW logo on the very top left, and it will pan out the menu so you can start to learn what each one of these icons does. And while we're on that topic, of course, Command is new and it is always scary and overwhelming to learn new technology. With that being said, try to make it fun. Try to go down this menu on the left-hand side to learn Command, all right? And grab a glass of wine, sit on your couch, and play around with it. That's how I learned the system as well. I'm just clicking on each one of these menu icons to see what I had access to and see what the system can do. So try to make it fun. All right, so we're in the contact section. And I know someone said they can't hear, so please let me know if that's happening to anyone else. Now, since we're in our contact section here, we need to go ahead and add a contact. So on the top right of our contact database in Command, if you have a test contact, feel free to use that, but I'm going to click Add Contact on the top right to add in this test contact right away. Now, it's always great to have a test contact in your account so you can see what it looks like when your clients receive emails from DocuSign or from Command and so forth. All right, so I'll go ahead and put in, let's say, Cosmo Odd Parent from the Fairly Odd Parents. Why not? And an email address. So you can put in any name, John Smith, your spouse's name, your favorite actor or actress to make it fun. All right, and then as far as an email address, I would recommend using a personal email address that you have, again, just so that you can see what it looks like when your clients receive emails from the system and so forth. So go ahead and put in a personal email. I'll put in and that's really all we need here. We need the name and the email address, and then click Create. So name and email for our test contact, and then click Create on the very bottom. Now, when you go to add in a contact to your database, you'll notice that every time you add one, it'll take you back to the top of your Command database, like to the A's. So for that reason, we'll just have to search for our contact in the top left. Okay, see the search bar here? Let's go ahead and search for that contact that we just entered in. And simply click on their name to open that right away. All right, so that was step one of creating a transaction in Command, is we created the contact. All right, now with this being said, before I continue on to the next step, I do want to share with you guys, I just created last week this little list of the steps that you have to do in order to do a transaction in Command. So let me send this out to you. It's a great resource, right? Because you're used to dot-loop, right? You learn this whole system, how to do a transaction, and now we're transitioning. And while that's a scary thought, right, it's just it's a new set of steps to learn in order to do a transaction in Command. And just like how you felt comfortable with dot-loop, you'll be feeling comfortable with DocuSign in no time. I did create these steps right here, so just to show you guys what it looks like. You can open it later, but it'll just be steps for you 1 through 10 on how to do a transaction in Command to help you feel a little less overwhelmed as you're going through that. All right, so that'll be in the link that I sent out. All right, everyone's unmuted. Let me know if anyone else cannot hear me. Okay. Shouldn't be muted. You should be able to hear by calling in if that gives you any trouble. 1 second, guys. All right, so now that we have this contact created in our Command database, we clicked on the contact to pull that open, and on the top right here, you'll see the opportunities. Okay, so you'll see this white toolbar on the top right of your contact. And let's focus our attention on the opportunities section. Go ahead and click on that. So you'll hear the word opportunities quite a lot. So what that means is that is going to be the beginning of your transaction. And to show you a little bit more about what opportunities does, I'm going to take you to the opportunities section. But I just want to let you know this is the quickest way to create an opportunity. Okay, and we would do that by clicking Create Opportunity on the right-hand side. And again, I'll be showing you the opportunity section a little bit to make a little more sense of that. But what you need to know now where do you email us the how-to? So I'll be sending out these little tips that I'm including for you guys. All right, so I'll send those out during class to even accentuate your knowledge on this class. All right, so let's click this Create Opportunity option. All right, so Create Opportunity on the top right. And that will give you a few options to fill out. Now, when you get the hang of this, guys, you'll be able to fly through this in about 30 seconds. All right, but I'm going to explain the fields just so you understand what each one does and means. For all you have to fill out are all the fields that have this red star, the red asterisk. Those are the required fields. Other than that, you do not have to fill that out. So starting from the top, Market Center, if you're a part of more than one Market Center, just make sure you're selecting the correct one. However, most of you are probably only a part of one Market Center, so you don't need to do anything there. If you're on a team, you should see the team name right from there. And the opportunity type is really the first place we need to do something. So opportunity type, we need to select if this is a listing, buyer, landlord, or tenant. So you can go ahead and select that. I'll pick listing for today's class, but the concept will be very similar for either option. If you want to do a buyer or a listing, feel free. The client, all right, the client name is populating already because we created the opportunity from the contact record itself. However, what you need to know about that, adding a client to an opportunity, is they have to be in your contact database first. So for example, if I wanted to add in a co-seller, say like a wife, they would need to already be in my command database. So just a heads up, when you start typing here, this is pulling from your command database. All right, opportunity name. So the next field that has this red star, and this is an important one. So the opportunity name, we want to put in the property address if we know that. That is how your office staff looks for your opportunity to put things like the earnest money check in it or deposit and so forth. So if you know the property address, let's go ahead and add it in. Of course, if you're representing the buyer, you won't know that out the gate, and that's okay. I'll show you how you can add it. But let's go ahead and put in all right, the address. And I always like to leave the client's last name, and that's a listing. I especially like to leave that to listing because it will show all opportunities in the contact record itself. So, when a client goes to buy and then sell the next home with me, I can see each one is a buy or a sell straight from here, straight from the name. All right, so we have that opportunity name, and let's scroll down, right? We have a few fields that don't have that red star, so we can breeze past those for now. And come down to the commission rate, right? It's prompting for your side, and again, it's okay if you don't know that for sure, if it's not set in stone. That is absolutely changeable. And lastly, we have this opportunity phase and opportunity stage. Now this will make a little more sense once I show you the opportunities section of KW Command, which is accessed from the handshake icon on the left-hand side. And no, guys, I'm going to be sending out the notes in the chat here. So I'm sending out the notes during class, and I'll also put it in the recorded YouTube video, so you don't need to send that out. I'll send them out again once I finish this part of it, though, so hang tight. All right, opportunity phase and opportunity stage. Again, that is correlating to where on your sales pipeline is this opportunity currently sitting at. All right, is it in the beginning, cultivate phase? Or do you have an appointment, or is this active? All right, so you can select that right from there. I'll leave that on the beginning stage. And then the opportunity stages are basically just sub-stages of these phases. So these two items will make a lot more sense once you take the opportunities class. For now, let's go ahead and just leave it where it is and click Create Opportunity. Now, if you're on a team, you might see this extra step that I see. If you're on a team, you can add your other team members as well to see the opportunity. However, if you're not on a team, you will not see this step. And if you are having trouble adding in the client's name, make sure you're just typing in the client's name and not pasting that in. And make sure the client is already in your contact database. They would have to be in your command database in order to pull them in as a client. And let's click Create Opportunity on the very bottom. Alrighty. Okay, so now that I created that opportunity, I can see right here is my opportunity. So anytime I want to quickly get back to this opportunity, the quickest way is by going to the contact itself, and you'll be able to click on the opportunity right from here. So I'm going to do just that. Let's go ahead and click on the opportunity name to open that up. And before we go further, guys, I'll send this out during class as well, but I'm going to send out, I have a centralized Google Doc for you guys while that's waiting to open. I have a centralized Google Doc that I have put all the notes for today's class, and I also have shorter 10-minute videos that will expand on what I'll be talking about. So that right there is the main link to keep. So that's a Google shared doc with all DocuSign tips and notes, if you want to grab that. All right, and I will answer your question here, just a moment here. So that's the main one to use. Everything I reference will be found on this link. I'll send it out at the end of class too, so you can grab it then. All right. So in the details section, so right, all I did, we were in our contact record and we created the opportunity and clicked on the opportunity name. So if you're still looking at that contact record, make sure to click on the opportunity name in that contact record and it'll take you to the details. Now I know a question was, how can I edit this info? For the most part, you can edit it. These little pencil icons, anytime you see that in command, will be to edit. So you can pull that information right from these pencil icons to update that. The only things that aren't really editable are the market center and team name. Other than that, you should be able to edit that for the most part. Now, since I am doing a listing, I have the option to select from listings at the top. Of course, this part of the tip won't apply if you're working on a buyer opportunity, and that's fine, but I would just watch for when you do have a listing. You will need to come in and select from listings right up top here under the opportunity name. So I'll click select from listings. And by default, it should default on only your listings. So in theory, it should be really easy to select your listing from here. However, we've been seeing an issue that listings aren't displaying under only my listings. However, they are found under all listings. So if you're not seeing your listing here, or you don't have a listing and still want to practice for today's class, feel free and join me. Change where it says only my listings on the top right drop down. Let's change that to all listings. And you'll have the option, a search bar at the top here where you can search by the street address or MLS number. So if you'd like to try to pull up your address or your listing, feel free to do so. Search by it here. If you have any trouble finding your listing here, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com and we can help you with that. It should pull over within about 24 to 48 hours after going live in the MLS automatically. Okay, so now that I am in here selecting listings, I'll scroll down and I'm just going to pick one. So if you want to scroll down and just click on one to select, you can practice with any of the listings that are available. So I'll go ahead and click select next to any of the addresses. And once I do that, it does a couple things. So right here, it shows me what that listing is. I can always change that here if I need to. And it also auto-fills the property details right in this box, which was blank prior to me selecting a listing, which will then auto-fill onto my forms in DocuSign. Beautiful thing. All right, so now that we have this details section handled, let's zoom on over to documents. So I'm focusing on this white toolbar here, and I'm going to focus on with you the main items that you'll need to know, and the document section is a big one. So let's pop on over to documents in my opportunity. Okay, so this document section of your opportunity will be used to submit forms to your Market Center staff for compliance review. That's what we'll be doing in this document section here, and I'll be showing you that firsthand. But for now, what I want to show you in this document section is how to access DocuSign and start your DocuSign room. Now, it is essential that you start your DocuSign room always from an opportunity like this, by clicking Start a Transaction on the top right. Okay, so hold tight. I wouldn't go ahead and click on this as well. Yeah, if you're a buyer's agent, you can use this as well. You would use this in your command account, and your Rainmaker would be able to see your opportunities automatically. Okay, So so you can do, an opportunity for a buyer or a listing here, but either way, and this is one of the most important parts of class, it is very, very important that when you go to create a transaction for the first time, you do the steps that we just did, right? We created a contact. We started the opportunity, right? We created the contact was step 1. We created the opportunity. And now from the opportunity document section, we're going to click Start a Transaction here. Okay? It's imperative that you start your DocuSign room this way, and I'll expand on that to tell you why it's so important in just a little bit. All right, but when you click Start a Transaction, I'm going to select DocuSign. However, if you have .loop linked up to command as well, you may be given this option here. Just a heads up, once you pick one of these options, it's set. You can't switch, you can't transition. So if you're using DocuSign, go ahead and select that option here. So start a transaction, and I selected DocuSign. And because I'm on a team, I have this pop up. I believe this is only if you're on a team will you have this. So if you're not seeing this, that's perfectly normal if you're not on a team. I'll click confirm and sync. So what that just did, if you are in a team though, you can add other agents on your team to your DocuSign room. Now, when I select the DocuSign option, it will prompt me to log into my DocuSign account the first time of the day only for security purposes. And then after you log in once, it'll stay logged in, which is nice. But unfortunately, this is one more password you'll need to remember. I logged in earlier, that's why it didn't prompt me to put in my password, right? But you should be prompted to put in your DocuSign email address and then your DocuSign password to access that right away. Okay, guys, and we made it. We are in our DocuSign account. So while you're working on getting logged into DocuSign, take your time. I'm going to explain a little bit about how DocuSign works. Oops. Sorry about that. So I wanted to point out that you'll probably hear the term DocuSign rooms every other day. Okay, the first time I heard that, I thought in my head, what the heck does that mean? What is a DocuSign room? Right, so to explain that, so whereas you had loops in .loop, right? You had a loop per transaction you sold in .loop, same concept. You will have a DocuSign room per transaction that you sell in DocuSign. Okay, so that's just what it's called, where it stores all your data and documents for that transaction specifically. Now, DocuSign is being used to get your forms signed by your clients. Right, so we are using DocuSign specifically to get forms electronically signed and get access to your forms, whereas we use the command document section to submit our forms to your Market Center for review. And I'll show you that firsthand so that it makes more sense. Yes, rooms are the same as loops. It's like the synonym of the loops for the DocuSign. So you'll have a room per transaction that you have. And you'll even notice as this kind of ties in, right, on this top toolbar here, right, we do have that rooms option. And if I were to click on that, that would just take me to every single room I had created in my DocuSign account, or every single transaction I had in my DocuSign account. Okay. Now, to kick off your transaction in DocuSign, let's take a look at this toolbar. So this toolbar right here will pertain to your room specifically, so this transaction. So where I would recommend starting off is in the details section. Right, so the furthest left makes sense. Let's always start there. The reason why I always recommend starting in this details section is to add your clients in. So you'll notice on the right hand side, if you start scrolling down, it'll give you seller 1, seller 2, buyer 1, buyer 2. The reason I recommend adding your client to the details section instead of the people section, if you add them to the people section, it sends your clients an email inviting them to the DocuSign room, which is fine, except for the fact that I find that a little confusing, especially if I don't have forms entered into my DocuSign room yet. I don't want to send my clients more emails than they need to get. So because of that, instead of the people section, I would recommend adding them to the details. So to do that, we'll come into details and click edit on the top right. So edit on the top right. And first, to start off, let's go ahead and focus our attention on the right-hand side here. Now, typically I have seen, I don't know if this is just off today, I've seen a lot of the seller info pulling over from command. So it might just be off a little today, but you should see some seller info pull over from your contact in Command. I swear I saw that last time I was in DocuSign. But either way, let's go ahead and add in our contact, even if it's not there. So let's do, we just need name and email here, guys. So I'm going to add in a seller 1 and a seller 2 in order to show you guys what it looks like if there is more than one client on the transaction. Okay, if you want to follow along, you are more than welcome to. Cosmo and Wanda, odd parent. Great 90s show. Okay, and we got an email address. All right, so we have our clients added in, and again, that's on the right-hand side. If you're adding in the buyer, you can keep scrolling down, right? So if the property is not listed yet, that's totally fine. All right, I saw that question come in. You do not have to fill in any of the property details yet. However, you know, if you are creating a listing agreement, you would typically know the property address. If you're representing the buyer, that's when you primarily won't know the property address out the gate. However, if it's a listing, you should know the property address immediately. Yeah, if it's a buyer, that's no worries at all. You'll be able to add in the address at a later time, and that's totally fine. You can come back into details and add it in here. Now, with that question leads me into my next point of what else this section does. So this details section will autofill any data that you put in here automatically onto your forms. And I think it might just be a little bit on the fritz today because normally it'll pull over the address information as well from Command. I just taught this last Friday and it did that. So just know that if it's doing for you, great, it's working properly. If not, no biggie for today's class. Let's just go ahead and put in an address just so you guys see what it looks like when it autofills. All right, but in theory, you shouldn't have to put in the address, but you can keep scrolling down and put in the further info. And this is a great time saver as it will autofill any information you put in here onto every single form that you bring into this DocuSign room. And if you're a new agent and a little overwhelmed by some of those 10-page forms, okay, this right here, DocuSign knows where to put the data on those forms. So it's a good training tool as well to learn where all the data goes on those forms. And once you're done, you can go ahead and click Save on the bottom right. All right, but the biggest takeaway from this detail section here is I would really recommend adding in your clients on the right-hand side column. All right, so now that I've done that, I've tackled the housekeeping part of my DocuSign room. I can come on over to the document section, and this is where you'll spend most of your time in DocuSign. And this document section will be pulling forms into your DocuSign room, filling them out, and sending them off to be electronically signed. Exciting stuff, I know. So let's kick that off by going to the Add option on the very top right. All right, so I'm under Documents in my DocuSign room, and I'm going to Add on the top right. And you'll see a few different options on how you can access forms and bring those into your DocuSign room. The main ones we'll focus on for today's class is the computer option and the DocuSign forms. All right, the DocuSign forms will bring in any interactive forms, meaning you can just start typing in the form automatically. Versus if it's on your computer, like if the agent on the other side sent you a form that you need to add to your DocuSign room, you can upload that as well. And of course, you'll see zip forms and some other cloud-based storage options as well. But for now, let's click on Add and go to DocuSign Forms so we can work on getting interactive forms into our DocuSign room. So again, I clicked on Add on the very top right, and then select the second option down, which is DocuSign Forms. And this is where you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. This section looks a little different for everyone's account. So if it doesn't look exactly like my screen yet, all right, if you are seeing a pop-up that says that you can put in your NERDS ID with your association, with an AR, all right, you can do that right from there. Some associations do require you to put in your NERDS ID in order to have access to your forms. However, not all associations do. I want to say there's, I'm guessing a number here, I want to say there's like 30 or so associations that you would need to link your NERDS ID. Obviously, there's a lot more associations in America, so a good chunk of you will not need to do that step. And check in with your office staff if you're not sure. They'll be able to let you know what most offices are doing in your area. Or, of course, you can email support@scottleroymarketing.com. We'd be happy to look into your account for you. And you can go ahead and click that skip option. If you're being prompted, it should say, skip this step. It's a little blue link, and it will take you to these DocuSign forms. All right, so if you are looking at what I am looking at here, you're where you should be. And let's talk about how to get those into your room. So the top drop-down, depending on what you select in this top drop-down here, will change what presents in the second drop-down. So if I leave that on my DocuSign Forms library, the first drop-down, if I come down to the second drop-down, I can see my libraries. These are my form libraries from my association and board. Now, if I change the first drop-down instead to my form groups, that changes the second drop-down to select from groups that are set up by my awesome Market Center staff. Right, so your groups will, of course, be different than mine if you're not in North Carolina or in this Market Center. However, in theory, you should go ahead and be able to select a group name to see those forms. Now, if you do not have any groups set up in here, there's nothing wrong with your account. It's just that your office is not utilizing the groups quite yet. So stay tuned on that. And if that's the case, you can always use the library option instead. I just like the groups option because it, categorizes my forms to help me find them a little quicker. So if you would like to join me in selecting a group, you can always use the search bar or scroll to find your forms right away. And then select the dot to the left of each form that you'd like to bring into your room. And you can do multiple at once. So I'll do these two. These are the main listing paperwork that I have to send out when I get a new listing. So I'll go ahead and select those two and click Add. All right, and pulling forms into your DocuSign room will get easier as you get familiar with that. And of course, it's just another process to learn. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to let us know. support@scottleroymarketing.com. Okay, so now I see my forms in my DocuSign room. So to go ahead and edit that and fill it out, it's as easy as clicking on it to open it. So let's do it. Let's go ahead and click on the form to open that up. And after staring at a spinning wheel for a little bit, that should pop right up for you. And you may see that some of the fields are autofilling. So these fields are autofilling from the details section of my room. If I scroll down, I also see the address I had entered in, right? So you can see how it's a great time saver to put that data in the details section so it will autofill in every form that you bring into this DocuSign room. So as it goes about, or I do go about filling out this form, all you need to do is click on the fields to start editing it. So let's say, right, so any text field, simply click to start typing. Any radio dots, right, these circular checkboxes, you can simply click on to check it. All right, so it's pretty intuitive to utilize as far as filling out the form. You can scroll through and fill out any fields that you need to. So use your imagination that we went through and filled out the entire form, and now we're ready for our clients to sign it. This is one of the biggest takeaways, and I learned this after one too many mistakes, so please learn from my mistakes and jot down or highlight that after filling out the form, you have to click Save and Close on the top right first, or you'll lose all your work. Okay, I've tried to DocuSign it straight from here and lost all my work, so please learn from me. All right, anytime you fill out the form, always click Save and Close first. It's an extra step, worth it to keep your sanity. All right, so Save and Close on the top right once I've filled out the form. And then I'll take you back to your DocuSign room where I see those forms. And you can share them in bulk or one at a time in order to get those DocuSigned. Okay, I'm going to show you guys both ways so you feel comfortable. So if there is a form, multiple forms that you need to send out, right? Let's say 2 forms for the listing. I can do that by clicking on this little dot. So if I hover my mouse over the form name, I then see that little dot appear and I can click it. Now, when I click these dots, right, notice that right here, there's nothing there, but when I click the dots, bulk actions will appear, right? So these bulk actions right here will allow you to select dots for multiple forms or even click select all in the top right. And then you can hover your mouse over each one of these icons to learn what each one does. However, in this case, DocuSign would be what we were looking for. So the DocuSign option is what's up next to that in order to get your forms electronically signed. Okay, so feel free, let's go ahead and click on that option here. So if you need to send multiple forms at once, or even just one, either way, I can go ahead and click the dots or click select all. And then with this little toolbar that displays, let's click the pen icon. That's the DocuSign option. If you are not seeing this toolbar, it's because you don't have your forms checked. Okay, so make sure they're checked. Then you'll see this toolbar to select the pen icon to DocuSign it. This is where the fun really begins. All right, this next little section is pretty different from .loop. All right, because up next it takes you into an envelope, which .loop didn't have at all. All right, so this envelope here, I want you to channel old school snail mail to make sense of this. So imagine that I have my forms in my hand and I want to mail it. I want to snail mail this to my clients. I would grab an envelope, stuff the documents into the envelope, voila, and then I would add the recipients to the envelope so they would receive that. So it makes sense if you think of snail mail. All right, so what I'm going to do in this envelope is scroll on down to the recipient section and click add recipient. This is the only step that you have to do in the envelope, but I'll of course explain more after we add them. Yeah, I will have this video up within the next 2 hours on our YouTube channel. You can go to youtube.com. So if you go to our YouTube channel, I have this on my bookmarks bar, and that'll always show you our brand new tip videos first. Okay? Or if you want to view them by categories, we have slmtraining.com where we categorize those. But yeah, I'll have this video up within the next couple hours here on our YouTube channel, so you can watch it then. All right, so back to adding recipients to our envelope. We're coming to add recipient, and we have a few options here. So I'm going to select the top option for pre-tagged roles. So add recipients. Okay, and I already entered my clients in to the detail section of my room. So that's why I am seeing them here. So I can go ahead and tell the system I would like this client to be seller 1 and this client to be seller 2. So again, these are popping up in the drop-down because I already added these clients to the details of my room at the beginning. And then listing agent, I'm going to select myself. Okay, so if you're doing like a buyer agency, it'll be the same concept, just say buyer 1 and 2 and buyer agent. Okay, but same exact concept here for the buyer side. And we'll click add selected. Now, once I do that, it will add my clients right here to the envelope. Okay, so that's all I have to do. So at this point, I could click next and be finished with this envelope and fly through it. But just to tell you guys a little bit more about it and best practices, let's scroll up to the top. The envelope name, I would recommend changing it for yourself so that you know what was in the envelope. I like to put in, let's say that this was the listing packet, or that I'm sending the listing agreement. For my own notes, I like to indicate what's in the envelope in general, so I know, because through a transaction, you'll send forms several times, right? So that means you'll have an envelope, a new envelope each time you send forms. So it's nice to look at your envelopes and see the name of that. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute to make more sense of that as well. Scrolling down to the documents section, I just want to let you know that you can reorder these because I found that really helpful. So you can change the order of these forms by clicking and dragging to move that around. Okay. So you can change the order, you can X out of the form. You can even bring further forms in here if you have other forms in your room you want to send out in this envelope, or if you want to pull in a template. And a video on how to create templates is on that shared Google Sheet I sent you guys. That again, I'll send at the end of class. So if you want to look at creating templates in DocuSign, I have a video on that. All right, and let's scroll down to the recipient section here. Okay, so a couple cool things about this. I believe a question just came in if the clients can see one another on the form. Yes, if it is a field that they will be signing, they will be able to see if the other client is prompted to sign as well, or if they've already signed. So they would be able to see the signature, especially if they sign second. As far as the sending order, let's talk about this, because this is something that's very cool about DocuSign that Dotloop did not have. So let's say after my clients, signed the offer, I have an executed offer, I want the mortgage provider to automatically receive a copy. Or if I have a transaction coordinator, that I want her to receive a copy whenever any form is signed, for that matter. I could do that by clicking on Add Recipient. And I could add my transaction coordinator or the mortgage broker, whatever the case may be, by the email address option. So let's say I wanted to put in, Tammy Transactions, and then her email. The cool part about this is I can change this on the left-hand side. So see how these have all these ones? I can change this one to a 2, which would make it so that the system automatically sends the form to this person that's labeled a 2 after all parties labeled with a 1 signs. Okay? And since I don't need my transaction coordinator to sign, I just need her to view it or receive a copy. I'll go ahead and select that. And now automatically, once these clients have signed, once everyone with a 1 signs, the system will automatically send it to my transaction coordinator second. So same concept with a mortgage provider. I really like that feature. All right, and lastly here, you can add a message for your clients. It'll default with some verbiage, but if you'd like to include something that you talked about on the phone, an extra detail of instruction, you can absolutely do that here. So now that we've done all of this, we can click Save and Close on the top right. So if you're not ready to send this, you just want to be prepared, you can click Save and Close on the top right, and it will save the edited form and everything in the envelope here, and I'll show you how you would get back to access that. But for now, let's click Next on the top right. So again, I clicked on the yellow Next option on the top right. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll on down to the first text fields or the places that they need to sign. We don't have to do anything here. So as far as if you scroll on down, you'll start to see the initial boxes displaying. Just want to get somewhere where I could show you guys that. So right here, so you'll see that my clients can automatically sign, right? I didn't have to add signature fields or anything. But the way that I know that this is both clients being able to sign is notice how these colors are different, right? Again, this is different than Dotloop, and I do like this feature. So I like how it's 3 different colors here, and these 3 different colors correlate. If you come up to the top right dropdown, you'll see that you have, your name and your client's name maybe with 3 different colors correlating or telling you which one they would be able to sign. So really all we need to do here is I usually check out the recipient preview just to make sure I set it up properly. So if you'd like to click on recipient preview on the top right, you can absolutely do that. And you can see who you're viewing that as. So if you want to view that as one of your clients to make sure that they'd be able to sign it, it'll take you through to go through start, and it'll take you through to each field to make sure that they can sign everywhere, right? You can do that for both clients here, view that on tablet, iPhone, or smartphone rather, or computer, so different views, and then X out. Right, that's just an additional step, especially as I started to learn the system. I really liked to look at the recipient preview before sending my form. Right, that is all you have to do here, and then click Send. Right? You're probably wondering what all these fields do on the left-hand side, and I'm going to show you that next, so hang tight to those questions. Right? There is more you can do, but there's not really anything more you need to do for this form because it's already filled out and my clients can sign it, so I'll go ahead and click send. So go ahead and click send if you would like to on the top right. Now when I do that, when I click send on the top right, it'll take me to my envelopes, right? So see right here, you keep hearing me say the word envelopes. So see on this on this top toolbar here, one of the options says envelopes. So this will show you, if you come into your envelope section, it will show you, any time that you sent out forms, right? So it doesn't mean just one form. It could be a batch of forms that you sent out in an envelope at whatever given time in the transaction. So it'll show you that every time forms are sent. With that being said, you can also click on the envelope. So for this one, right, that one said needs my signature. It's a listing agreement, so I need to sign as the agent. I can do that by coming into the envelope and clicking sign right here. Okay, so if I lost anyone, I simply clicked on the envelope to open it. And if it's a form I need to sign, then you'll have the option to sign. Of course, if it's not a form you'll need to sign, it won't give you that option. But we have the option to correct the envelope, and also in the more option here, you can resend it, which I find very helpful, especially when your clients say things like, oh, I didn't get that email. They probably just didn't check their emails, but you can always resend it so it goes to the top of their inbox right from here. All right, I'm Xing out, but I'll show you guys again how I got in here. So X out on the top right, I'm in this envelope section is where you can go. Again, this is where you'll see any drafts for your envelopes, can click on that to sign it and so forth. All right, so let's go back to documents. So back on the toolbar here, we're going back over to documents. And we are changing course just slightly here. So what I'm going to show you next. So far what you have learned is how to add interactive forms to your DocuSign room, fill that out, and get it sent to your clients for electronic signatures. Okay, with that being said, I get questioned a lot as how do you just print out forms? So if you just want to print out the form and bring it on your appointment, you can do that as well. All you would do would be a very similar process to what we just did. You would open the form. So I think this is not on the notes. If you'd like to jot down, like if you're going on a listing appointment, and instead of sending the form to your clients electronically signed, you'd like to bring the form with you so you can explain the form and hand fill it out. So if you plan to do that, you would need to open the form to fill it all in. So that's step one. Step two, don't forget, save and close first. Okay. So step one, we fill out the form. Step two, we save and close. Then we pull open the form again, right? So I clicked on it to open it. So now let's, if you could focus your attention, these document actions. So it's an icon that looks like a little folded piece of paper. This is where you'll have the option to print the form if you want to bring it with you on your appointment. But again, don't forget to save and close first before doing that. You also, just while we're here, you also have the option to select DocuSign from here. So if you are not, if you're just getting one form signed by your clients, you can select DocuSign right from here as well. That's another option for you. All right, guys, so I'm Xing out of this so I can show you now how to add PDFs to DocuSign. So I'm Xing out on the top right, but that's how you would print out the form to bring on your appointment. Okay, so in this situation, let's say the agent on the other side doesn't use DocuSign, so they just emailed you and a copy of the offer to purchase signed by their clients, let's say. So in this example, the buyer has signed the offer and has emailed it to you, the listing agent, and now you save the offer to your computer. All right, whatever the situation might be, you have the document on your computer, and now we can come up to Add on the top right and select the computer option. So we're selecting Add on the top right and then Computer. Now if you have a PDF on your computer that you want to pull into practice with, feel free. All right, but all you would do is browse your files on your computer for that PDF and double click on that to pull it into your room. And if you're still looking for a PDF to practice with, feel free to take your time, but you can also just watch on my screen and I'll walk you through that as well. Now I'd like you to note real quick the difference between these icons here. This one says form, right? These blue form icons means it's an interactive DocuSign form, one that you can just open and start typing in. You'll also have this icon to indicate it's a PDF, and that means you can't just type on it. It means it came from your computer. And there's one more icon, and when forms come back signed by your client, right, that'll come back with a signed icon in green, okay? So those are the three icons that you'll see in DocuSign. The signed one is, of course, my favorite. All right, and let's go ahead and open that PDF that we just added. Okay, in our DocuSign room, I just clicked on it to open it. And the nature of a PDF is that I cannot click to start editing any of these fields, right? That's what a PDF generally means. But the cool thing about DocuSign, it's a PDF editor. So to do that, let's come up to DocuSign Actions on the top right. So again, that Document Actions is the icon that looks like a folded piece of paper on the very top right. And you'll of course see a bunch of different items that you can note that sit here. But for now, let's go down to the DocuSign option. Okay, so in order to edit a PDF within DocuSign, you have to add it to your room and then select the DocuSign option to pull it into an envelope first. This is different than .loop, so I just want to point that out. So we have the PDF and we click to DocuSign. So now the only thing I have to do is come on down to the Add Recipients. So I'll come down here and select Room Participants. Okay, I want my sellers to be added here to sign the form, and I can click Add Selected. All right, so this is where you're picking, who needs to receive this, who needs to sign the form. That's what you're picking here. I see my clients are added in, and they have needs to sign. Okay, question. The question was, can you add a PDF to a pre-existing envelope? I don't think so, because you can add from the room docs, but that would have to be in your room already. Oh, well, so let me rephrase that actually. As long as you add the PDF in first to your DocuSign room, then you should be able to go back into the envelope and click the room docs option here to pull that PDF in. But you can't just add a PDF straight to the envelope. That would have to be in your DocuSign room first. All right, and now that we added in the recipients, right, that is the only required thing to do here. So you can see, you can get through this really quickly. And click Next on the top right. Just going to rename that so I know what's in this envelope. And click Next. Right, and this is another place I could click Save and Close on the top left, and it would just put this draft in my envelope section of my room. So that's always an option, guys. This video will be up again in about a couple hours on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Scott Leroy Marketing. It'll be at the very top, or you can go to slmtraining.com to access that. All right, and guys, I know you've been sending questions. I will try to get to that after class, trying to answer a couple as I see them come through. But just don't think I'm ignoring you or anything. All right, so now we're on the form. So this is where the quote-unquote exciting part starts. So on the left-hand side, right, let's come back to the situation with the colors being different for each of our clients. So if you click on that drop-down at the top, right, you see the two colors for my clients. So the yellow is corresponding, you'll notice all these fields are yellow, corresponding to Cosmo. And if I change that to my other client, Wanda, I can see that all these fields turn her color, which is blue. So to kick that off, let's start talking about how to add initial fields. So again, in this example, let's say the agent on the other side sent you the form signed by the buyer, use your imagination, and I now need to add initial boxes for my clients to be able to sign, because I don't want to go over to their house. All right, so right here is where we can come to add in the initial boxes. So let's come over to the fields on the left-hand side. And you'll see the initial option near the top, which I can click on. It'll start following my mouse, and I can simply click to drop that. So again, that's blue because it corresponds to Wanda, this client. Now I need to add an initial field for my other client, so I'll go ahead and switch the color. Same process here, add initial box, and pull it over, and click to drop it. Then in theory, you could go through to each one of these pages and add the initial boxes just like that so they can be able to sign it. Just again, make sure you're adding one for each of your clients. That'll be 2 different colors when you add those in. Now, signature fields are very similar, but there is something extra for you guys to note. So I'm just scrolling to a page that has signature fields. You can just watch on my screen if you'd like. So same concept here, that you'll need to add the signature field for each client on the left-hand side and pull that over. The main thing you need to know that's special or different than the initials is that you do need to add the date signed to full signatures. That does not autofill like it did in dotloop if it's a PDF. So make sure you're adding the date signed as well. And again, right now I need to switch over to my other client. So now these fields are blue, so I can add those fields as well. Right, so I'm always just clicking on the field on the left and dropping it in. Okay. And if you accidentally add a field somewhere crazy, like right there, no worries. You can always click on the field to delete it on the right-hand side, or even move it by clicking on the edge of on the center of the text box to move that around. So either one will work as you're playing with laying these down. All right, so that is one use of these fields on the left-hand side, is to add your client's signatures and initial boxes so they can sign those electronically. Outside of that, these also come in great handy if you need to edit, let's say, a signed form. So let's say your form is totally signed, however, you just got word that your client's legal name is Anthony Stark, and so you can't have Tony Stark on a legal document, and I need to change a fully signed document. So let me take you through the steps now of how you would edit this PDF. So what you could do, most all your fields will be under the standard fields. So if you take a look on the left-hand side, there's a gray toolbar. And we're in the standard fields, the very top one. That's usually where you'll spend most of your time here. However, you will see an option for markup tools. Looks like a little pencil icon. And only the line is in there, so you gotta go find the line from there. So this is a strike through. So if you need to strike through anything, like this information is incorrect, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab it from the markup tools, click on the line option, and click to cross this out. So now that I laid down that strike through, I can come back to my standard field. So back on this gray toolbar on the far left, let's go back to standard fields. And let's add in a text box to be able to fill in the data, the correct data. So now I'm selecting text, and this is where it really gets juicy. So I would recommend taking some notes on this, right, because I don't have this on the notes. So when you're laying text boxes manually, this is only if you're editing a PDF. So if you foresee yourself utilizing this tool, right, you might want to take notes on this. When you lay a text box, you'll notice it's blue, which corresponds to your client. So off default, your client will be mandated to fill out this text box. So if this is a text box that I don't want my client to fill out, this is a text box I will be filling in as the client. Right, on the right-hand side here, you'll notice it says required field, so I can uncheck that. And when I do, it turns it clear. Right? If I check that it's required, it's solid blue, indicating it's required for this contact. If I uncheck it, clear, not required. I can even go a step beyond and do read only, so that they cannot fill it out, so only I can. So they can't tamper with it. We'll say Anthony Stark and Pepper Potts. Okay, and since you do have to do those extra steps here, if it's a field that you want to fill out, just a heads up, you can save that as a custom field to add that further for next ones. Just a little additional tip. All right, but really all we need to know now that we filled that out, and again, we unchecked required and we checked that it's a read only. So now I just need my clients to sign for that, right? Any changes made would need to be initialed, so I can go ahead and drop the initial boxes wherever on the form to allow my clients to sign for that change. I can always preview it and send that off right away on the top right. Okay, so this is how you can, get a PDF signed by your clients if it's an offer or so forth, or if, you need to edit a signed form, you can do it this way as well, add a strike through and have your client sign for that change. All right, guys, we're in the home stretch. The last thing I need to show you guys is how to add your documents to command to submit that for review to your office staff so you can get paid on your transaction, which is, I think, why we do this whole real estate thing. So if you have 5 minutes to stick around, great. I'll crank it out, and then if not, I'll have this class recorded later so you can check that out. No, well, as far as the initial boxes go, most areas do not require the date. I would check in with your broker in charge. For the signature fields, that is required. And I know I ran that by the broker in my area, and the broker told me to have that added for signature fields specifically, and I don't need to for initials. However, big star here, compliance rules are different for each region and state, which is extra fun. So check in with your broker just to make sure. Just so you know, I just want to give you guys that heads up. All right. So I'm in my envelopes here, right? And now you can see, right, I have the 2 envelopes I sent out during class. So you can see how it's useful to put in that this one was the listing packet, this one was the offer, so I can differentiate between the 2. So now that I have, in theory, gotten my form signed, because remember, the primary use of DocuSign is to get your forms electronically signed, and then the primary use of your opportunity within Command, that document section, is to submit it to your Market Center for review so you can get paid. Okay. So now that I have them signed, use your imagination, let's switch tabs. So on the top of my browser here, I am switching tab to my Command documents. Right, so you should have DocuSign open, and it has a little icon with a down arrow. And then you have Command documents open with the KW logo. And let's switch to that one. Probably the most confusing part, in my opinion, about learning this was to differentiate between the document section in the opportunity with the document section in DocuSign. So just one more time, because it's really important. The document section in DocuSign will be used to get your form signed by your clients. Right? And the documents section, in your opportunity is where we'll add in our forms to submit that to your office. So to do that, in this document section, in Command specifically, make sure you're not in DocuSign, we're in Command, Documents, in my opportunity. You'll see it has a Pick Checklist Type option on the left-hand side. Now, these are created by your office staff as well, so yours will look different than mine, and that's totally fine, but go ahead and select the checklist that you think would apply to this transaction. And then it will show you a bunch of form placeholders, kind of like a checklist, going down your screen. So these are not the actual forms. This is really just your office trying to tell you these are the forms that you need to be in compliance, to stay out of real estate jail, and to get your commission check, okay? So from this checklist here, I see all my forms I need, and I can, of course, click Attach a File on the right-hand side to assign a file to each one of these. However, it's way easier to click the Attach Multiple Files on the top. So attach multiple files. Now once I do that, it will give me a couple options on the top here, so I can manually, if these forms are on your computer, right? You got them hand signed and then scan them to your computer. If it's on your computer, great. Go ahead and click on here, drag and drop it in to pull that from your computer. Or if you use DocuSign to get your form signed, you'll see at the top there's a radio dot for DocuSign. I see on the left-hand side, these are the forms I need to add. And with the select box, I can go ahead and click on that. And this is pulling the forms from this DocuSign room specifically. Okay, so I can go ahead and select which form would match up to that one. And of course, I would do this once the forms are signed. Okay. So once the forms are signed, then I can go ahead and attach each one and click Attach. And then I will see that form name on the right-hand side, and I can always click on it. Now, I know I harped at the beginning of class that it's super, super important that you create your DocuSign room straight from here, right? Always from the document section of your opportunity. The reason that is so important is if you do that step, you will have the option to pull from DocuSign straight here. So it'll save you a lot of stress near the end of your transaction. So that is the primary reason you need to make sure that you start your transaction from here. So your opportunity links up to your DocuSign room. It'll make your life so much easier. But quick tip on that, once you've created your transaction, once you've created your DocuSign room, right, from your opportunity, after that, guys, you can, if you need to quickly get to your DocuSign room, you can always go to realestate.docusign.com to log in. But again, make sure not to do that the first time that you go to create the transaction, okay? But that is the quickest way to get there. Now, a couple of things to wrap you up on, I just want to let you know that when you are done adding in your forms, once you're ready, you can click Submit to MC on the top right to send that over to your office staff for them to look at your opportunity to do compliance review. Now, with that being said, in general, when you want to submit your file for review is once when the listing goes live, a second time when it goes under contract, and a third time when it closes, okay? You'll add all your forms here and submit that to your market center. Now, please chat with your office staff, though. Each office has a slightly different policy on how they want you to be submitting and, you know, when they want you to do that. But I just wanted to give you a general idea. When it's your listing, you'll submit that for review to your market center 3 times. Once when the listing goes live, once when you're under contract, and a third time when it closes. If you're representing the buyer, you'd submit that twice, once when it goes under contract and once when it closes. All right? That's when you would submit to your market center. Now, with that being said, you would also do a commission request when your property goes under contract. So if you were familiar with green sheets in MyKW, same concept here. So you would be able to do a commission request, is what it's called now, to let your office know how you're getting paid on the transaction, if you're splitting the commission with someone in your office, paying an outside referral, etc. All right, that is why you have to fill out a commission request, and typically that's done after you go under contract. In order to do this commission request, you would have to add in an offer first. So the offer would have to be accepted, and you would add that into the offers tab right here. And once that's done, this commissions tab will be live. Now, I have a short little video on how to do that in those tips I sent you guys, and I'll send that out in just a moment here, but that will walk you through it right away. And again, if you're watching this class recorded, I'll put that under the YouTube details under this class. All right, guys, so that was A to Z on how you are going to do a transaction in Command, from adding your contact in, getting your form signed in DocuSign, to submitting to your office staff for review. I know it's a little bit of an overwhelming process, but I promise it'll start to feel second nature, just like Dotloop did for you. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us, support@scottloraymarketing.com, and I'd be more than happy to help you with your issue. All right, guys, I hope this helped. I hope you have a great one. Take care.